Hello and welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Loyalty and Loyalty TV. Our conversation today is back in the telecommunications sector. The same vertical I first worked in loyalty when I managed the O2 Priority Programme back home in Ireland. Our guest, Jerome Patalud, is joining us from the Philippines, where he is the Director and Product Owner for Globe Rewards, the loyalty proposition from Globe Telecom Incorporated, a major provider of telecommunication services in the country, where it operates the largest mobile network with almost 55 million subscribers. The Globe Group closed the first 9 months of 2023 with an all-time high in consolidated revenues, fueled by strong contributions from its mobile, corporate data, and non-telecommunication services, as Globe transitions from a telco to a techco. I hope you enjoy listening to our conversation all about Globe Rewards. So, Jerome, welcome to Let's Talk Loyalty and to Loyalty TV.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Great, you're joining me from a very long way. I think it's a long overdue conversation with you there based in the Philippines. So very exciting to hear what's going on with Globe Telecom and Globe Rewards. Seems to be an absolutely incredible business you guys are running there. So congratulations on that. And yes, I will say also thanks to our friends in Comark for introducing us. I know you guys have been working together for an awful long time, and it's a real shining case study that you're very proud of. So we're excited to share it with our audience. So let's kick off then, Jerome, with our usual opening question. As you know, we have this very familiar question because we like our loyalty professionals to share what they admire in their own countries and in their own lives. And I suppose the loyalty professional perspective comes through as well as the consumer perspective. So kick us off, Jerome, and tell us, based in the Philippines, what is your favorite loyalty program?
Yeah, thanks, Paula. For me personally, given I'm really a coffee addict, I'm really a coffee person. I really can't function in a day without the coffee. So I would say for me, the best loyalty, aside from our own, is really Starbucks. The simplicity and I guess the effort that they did to really design a very seamless and operational platform and process of as basic of a stars program, to be able to really rack up those stars, to be able to get your free coffee, your journal, your planner, and a whole lot of other freebies here in the Philippines. Really makes a difference with my cup of coffee every morning.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as I said to you off air, actually, it is the single most answered brand. So well done to Starbucks. And we're very excited. We're going to have the Middle East loyalty lead joining us in the studio now in a couple of weeks. So anybody who is listening, please do listen out for our interview with Starbucks directly. And I guess what is also, to me, fascinating about a brand like Starbucks is, I suppose, the different degrees of sophistication around the world. So in the US, I think, as we all know, Starbucks is the most advanced, I think. Although I could be totally wrong with that, of course. I know they're doing lots of things. But tell me, for example, do they have a wallet functionality there in the Philippines? Do you know?
They do. So it's all app-based. They have a card-based. So regardless of which channel, online or offline channel you're used to, there's something that Starbucks actually provides for you. So it's very easy and seamless for your experience.
Okay, super. Yeah. There's an incredible article, actually, Jerome. I don't know if you've read it, and it's called The Bank of Starbucks. And it's about this whole idea of the wallet and the fact that they do, of course, have so many people prepaying for coffee. So I'll make sure that we link to that in the show notes so you can read it, and anybody else who's interested in that, I suppose, extra operational and cash flow benefit in such a lovely category as coffee. So we're off to a great start, Jerome, and I think I have an awful lot of fondness for this conversation as well, because I think I started my loyalty career also in telecommunications. I was totally confused and pretending I knew what I was doing, and I totally was not. So first of all, I think the key thing is, if you wouldn't mind just introducing Globe Telecom for us, Jerome, just to give us a sense of the business before we get into your whole proposition, yeah?
Sure thing, Paula. So first up, Globe Telecom. So we're a telecommunication company here in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So we're currently a market leader when it comes to our revenue growth and subscriber base here in the country. And then as same as other telcos, we cut across all of your major spectrums. So from mobile, broadband, corporate,
Yeah.
prepaid, postpaid. So these
Yeah.
are the different brands and industries that we actually cater to.
Mm-hmm.
So the beauty of it is us in the loyalty space, us loyalty practitioners, we get to have front row seat when it comes to
Yes.
designing how to create loyalty programs, retention programs for all
Yeah.
of these brands, for prepaid, postpaid, and broadband. So even it does have a lot of SKUs and offers when it comes to the telecommunications space, but
Yeah.
it also makes it much more fun to be able to create new matrices, to be
Yeah.
able to create new bundles and offers just the right personalized tailor fit offers for your customers.
Indeed, yeah. I think fun is a great word, Jerome, and you must be having fun because I know you've been working with the Globe Rewards proposition
That's correct.
for your entire career, as far as I can
Yeah.
tell. So tell us about you, tell us about Globe Rewards, and I suppose really what I'm trying to understand for our audience is the role of Globe Rewards as it relates to Globe Telecom, because I do
Correct.
think there are so many different ways, of course, to acquire and retain customers. And sometimes the focus can be on the acquisition side. I think all businesses can be guilty of that from time to time, but it sounds like Globe has really focused on the retention piece. So please do tell us the history and basically what you guys do on the reward side.
For sure, for sure. Maybe I can start with me. So I think coming off from me, so as you've mentioned, same with you. I also started my career in loyalty here in Globe as
Yeah,
a telco. It's my first job as well. Never left, so been having fun since day one as well here. So I think in relation to the question of how Globe Rewards is to Globe Telecom, I think
yeah.
we should also first take a step back of how the Philippine landscape or ecosystem looks like first. So the Philippines, as compared to the US, is really a third world country. So a
Okay,
lot of the Filipinos here are also not that affluent, or some of them are majority are marginalized. So
okay.
what we do
Yeah,
from the Globe Rewards perspective, so Globe Telecom gives them the communications, so all those data, text, Wi-Fi, internet, and all. But at the same time, us from the Globe Rewards part, we try to really inject ourselves into these lives of these customers, regardless if you're affluent or marginalized. We try to help as much as we can because
nice.
entirely the vision of Globe Telecom is really uplifting the Filipinos' lives. And
Okay,
really flourishing really flourishing the business, the telco business, to be able to provide the best
yeah,
digital and the best the day-to-day lives for our customers. So what we do from Globe Reward space is we try as much as what we can, because we do know that a lot of our customers already spend for their telco needs for
yeah,
and then not all of them could really afford the postpaid market. So I'm not sure in the US or in other countries, I'm sure
yeah,
predominantly it's really reigned by postpaid market, but
yeah,
compared to the Philippines, it's the complete opposite. So a lot of the population here in the Philippines is really prepaid. They're prepaid centric, prepaid based. So they pay for their telco usage on a daily basis, every 3 days, depending on how much money they could actually spend for their telco.
wow,
So what we do
yeah,
is rather than just incentivizing them once a month once they pay their bill, if you're postpaid, we try to inject the lighters, campaigns, events, whatever we can on their
yeah,
daily lives, literally daily lives. So that's
wow,
something that we try to curate for our customers. We run hundreds of campaigns to them targeted to the different target markets and communities on a daily basis. So as long as you're topping up or as long as you're with Globe Telecom and then really earning those hard-earned rewards points coming
yeah,
from your purchase of your load. So that's why
yeah,
we try it as much to incentivize and really create a differentiated experience just for you.
wow,
So from the Globe Rewards loyalty space, that's one of the many things that we try to inject and do to be able to
yeah,
uplift the lives of the Filipinos and really
yeah.
make it more delightful and worthwhile experience for them while they stay with our company.
Incredible. So many things I want to pick up on, Jerome. Thank you for that. And yes, we have to make sure to acknowledge your loyalty, of course, to Globe Rewards. I think you joined on a management trainee program more than 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Started at the bottom, worked your way all the way up through the partnership proposition, and of course into the director role. So Wonderful to hear as well the integrity that's coming through. I hadn't really appreciated the complexity and I suppose the scale of the Philippines. I was, of course, doing some research as well, Jerome, today. So it is the 12th most populous country in the world with 109 million people and 19 languages and 7,641 islands. So a very, very large, very complex country by all accounts. And I suppose when you overlay then the economic challenges that you've just mentioned to make sure that you as a utility are providing that service to people is a huge task. And the fact that you're building in the piece around bringing joy, bringing fulfillment into their everyday life, that's certainly keeping you very busy, I can tell.
Yeah, I think that's what we do. We wake up and we find creative things to be able to delight and bring joy. These customers, us as loyalty practitioners, I think that's what we wake up for.
Exactly. It's the perfect balance about having fun and driving the business. I think that's what I love about loyalty. Brilliant. So tell us then, Jerome, about the conventions that I have seen on your website, because what really blew my mind is, of course, loyalty is not just a program. There's so many different things that a business can do to create connection with its customers. And the conventions that I saw across so many different aspects of life really impressed me. So I'd love to get an understanding. I know it's not your responsibility, but tell us about the kind of work that Globe Telecom does to connect with your consumers.
Yes, Paula, that's correct. So thank you for browsing through our website and through the ads as well. So I think you mentioned the keyword that we really aspire for nowadays. It's really communities and conventions. So we do know that everyone has a mobile phone here in the Philippines. So it's really a saturated market here in our country as well. But to your point, a lot of them also doesn't really maximize or really know what the extent of what their mobile phone can do. So majority of these people, they go to these conventions, to these community events to be able to gather around, get together with the same people, with the same passion points, to be able to explore and expand what they really like. And us here in Globe Telecom, that's something also that we acknowledge. Even though these communities are very niche in market, so gaming, AI, Korean is very strong here in the Philippines. So these are niche community markets that we actually inject ourselves into as early as now, because we do know that this is where our customers are, and we do like to be where our customers are to be able to engage with them. While Globe Rewards specifically, our role to play in these communities is really getting them access to these communities. So these community events, they're really held in big stadiums, big event centers, where artists and celebrities really come in. So it doesn't come cheap. The ticket prices for these events are really at a premium. So us at Globe Rewards, we actually create packages and campaigns to be able to allow them to get access. For example, for as low as 1 point, you could actually gain access already to community events, which actually just costs you around 3,000 pesos if you pay it upfront. So just imagine that one rewards point that you earn based from your spend and loyalty with the Globe Telecom actually can get you access to the most famous conventions, to the most sought after community events here in the country.
Incredible, incredible. And before I had my podcast, Jerome, I don't think I really appreciated how much fun it is to create. But again, I saw that at the kind of conventions you're running. And then I think back to my telecoms piece, again, I wasn't involved on the sponsorship side, but it's a really wonderful way to connect with passion points. You know, whether it is, as you said, it's gaming, it's community, it's music, it's creativity. So wonderful that Globe Rewards has that specific role to play to give access to something that is quite exclusive and make it available to them even above and beyond the existing program that I know we're going to talk about now, Jerome. So thank you for talking us through the conventions that the business runs. Even before actually we get onto that, you also reminded me that I know you also recognize tenure, which I think is an important word. And just for people listening, of course, you know, so many businesses and brands, whether it's airline loyalty programs or hotels, sometimes they just focus on spend. But I love the fact that Globe Rewards is thinking about how long has this person been loyal to us? How long have they been a customer? So I'd love to get a sense, has that always been the strategy? Or have you had different changes in terms of how you recognize the loyalty of people for the network?
That's correct. I think from the beginning of the program, even though, as you mentioned, even though a lot of the programs from the different companies like airlines, telco, and so on and so forth. It's called loyalty program, but loyalty actually is equal to spend,
Yes.
not really your tenure.
Yeah.
In Globe Telecom, so spend is also important. I mean, like in any company, spend and revenue will always be important. But I
Yeah.
think what the differentiator that we did in our company is really we fought after, aside from spend, because spend will come. I mean, like money will come from these customers. But
Yeah.
what's irreplaceable or what's something that you cannot buy is their tenure. So
Yes.
just imagine a prepaid customer who just spends, for example, the minimum with your company, but they stayed with you for around 20 years. So they've
Yes.
been with you through all the ups and downs of, so not no company is perfect. So
Yeah.
even us at Globe Telecoms, we also have our share of ups and downs, but they
Yeah.
wavered through it and really stayed with you, still loved you, and still
Yeah.
purchased all of our products. So I think from us at the Globe Rewards team, as one of the loyalty experts or practitioners in the company, we're
Yeah.
really at that forefront, or really had that opportunity to be able to drive tenure into the business.
Yeah.
That tenure doesn't just really mean how many years you've been with us, but it's
Yeah.
actually how many hearts we have changed
Yeah.
throughout the years that we have actually done the program. So,
Beautiful.
so yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
balance of tenure and spend that we
Okay.
try to really give justice to for all of our
Okay.
customers. So
Yeah.
both of our of equal importance, and both are something that we really strive and achieve for.
Okay, lovely, lovely. And you do have a points currency, am I right, Jerome? I know you have
That's correct.
partnerships, and we'll talk about that. So you do have a points currency, and of course you recognize then different types of behavior. The big one I know for you every year is the September campaign. So
Yeah.
I'd love you to explain, first of all, the origins of that idea and give us a
Yep.
sense of what you've been doing, because I know you've had that crazy period of celebration now just recently. We're recording here now just shortly after that. So tell us about the origins of your September activity and what you do and why.
Yes. So for us, this September is really one of our tentpole campaigns. It's called the 917 Gday campaign, Gday Everyday campaign. So
Okay.
it's actually on its eighth year.
Mm-hmm.
So together with Comarch, you mentioned earlier, Comarch is one of our most loyalty partners as well. So we actually nominated this program to have one of the long outstanding loyalty awards.
Okay.
So we were actually shortlisted and nominated for that program because it's an eighth year this year
Yes.
as well. But
Brilliant.
8 years ago, Globe Rewards was your typical loyalty program. But 8 years ago, we actually started to really double down on tenure. It's a good question that we asked before. So all
Yeah.
of this really stemmed out from tenure, actually.
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
main insight is we're just recognizing customers based on spend. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
We do
Mm-hmm.
have a loyalty program. We give them points based on their spend, but we don't do anything else on top of it.
Okay.
So that was actually that was actually a good opening insight and opening idea for us to be able to craft this 917 Gday campaign. So
Yeah.
it's called 917 because 917 is actually the first prefix that Globe Telecom had here in the Philippines. So it's
Okay.
917, and then we just played around it to make it September 17.
Brilliant.
9.17.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
before we just played around one day, 1 week of 917, but we took it another step further by actually celebrating a whole month of September just for our
Okay.
customers. It's not
Mm-hmm.
really actually the anniversary of Globe, but some of our customers actually think it is. So
Okay.
because it's the month when we celebrate the customers. No frills, all
Mm-hmm.
genuine delighters, all genuine love for all of the
Yeah.
customers. So
Yeah.
it's that 1 month in a year
Mm-hmm.
wherein as much as we can, the loyalty, the freebies are much more higher as compared to the sales or the purchase that we ask from these customers. So just
Okay.
imagine, just if you're a 5 year customer, a 10 year customer, you
Mm-hmm.
instantly get a reward from us. You don't even have to do anything. You just have to go
Okay.
to
Yeah.
the app and redeem it, and then that
Mm-hmm.
reward is just specifically tailor fitted for you.
Okay.
So GDA
Yeah.
campaign is really started out
Yeah.
as that one. It really stems out from the insight of what are we doing to be able to incentivize more our most loyal and most tenured customers. And
Yeah.
then throughout the 8 years, it has blown up to be able to become so much bigger and more. So
Yeah.
to your point, we've infused a lot of the community subculture conventions into that program.
Yeah.
Aside from tenure, who would have think us as a loyalty program, we've crafted gaming events, we've crafted music
Mm.
festival events.
Yeah.
Um, with the hopes that with your one Globe Rewards point, you can get access to these events as well. So
Amazing. Yeah.
um, we've said for sure a lot of the customers, if you in the US, for example, Coachella is one of the biggest concerts that you guys have here, and that it comes with a premium price. But
Yeah.
here in the Philippines, you don't even have to pay for your concert ticket, but you get to gain access to, let's say, for
Yeah.
example, the 20 most popular bands in the country for
Wow.
just 5 points.
Okay.
And then yeah, we infuse a lot of those events with a lot of points play program. For example, in
Uh-huh.
that event, we actually get you access to 1 point for a pizza, 1 point for a drink, one
Okay.
point for a beer. So those
Amazing.
are things that we actually infuse into these events to be able to really get in touch with the customers, because we do know that 1 point is really hard to obtain for them.
Yeah.
So we really make it as hardworking as we can to really bring back the power of a point is
Okay.
equal to so much more than 1 peso.
So I'm guessing you have to subsidize that then. So I'd be curious, is that how that works? You have I guess, a limited amount, because obviously the budget's always going to be limited in some way. So is that how it works? You know, you create this portfolio of rewards, you subsidize it, and you offer them then, as you said, throughout the month of September, your kind of anniversary month. Is that it? That you literally put this whole, I suppose, competition almost portfolio together to make sure that
Yeah.
people start to get stuff almost for free?
Yeah, so that's one model of it. So usually a lot of the programs thinks that you gotta subsidize for all of this, but which we do.
Yeah,
We subsidize for a lot of things during the celebration, because it's really a month that we do know that it's a
yeah.
month that we will spend, but it's a spend for the loyalty of our customers. But to be able to really reach more customers and to bring that scale, the partnership piece comes into play.
Oh, tell
So
us.
aside
Yeah,
from us subsidizing it, a lot of it is also together with the amazing partners and sponsors that we've racked
amazing.
up for this
Yeah,
amazing campaign. So
okay,
together with them, we get to actually delight and really give benefits and perks to a whole lot of more customers
okay,
at a more efficient, cost-efficient way. And
okay.
then they do recognize and understand the mission and vision where we want to bring it.
Yeah,
So a lot of these partners and sponsors, even though it's a spend for them, it's a spend on their A&P,
yeah.
but it's a spend that they're really willing to give, because they do know that once their sponsorship packages is with us, they do know that it's
Okay,
going for a good cause of celebrating
incredible.
loyalty of customers.
Yeah, I really like that because, of course, there's all of the principles and safety and security of partnering with a big brand like Globe. You know, constraining it to 1 month of the year, knowing exactly what the intention is to sponsor your customers. It's almost like you create that halo benefit where, you know, they get some recognition, some advertising, as you said, and promotion. You guys get the stickiness, and together it's that win-win-win, which for me certainly is why I fell in love with loyalty. You know, it's like all of those benefits joined together. And I think the piece that I also think is important, because we used to do it at Christmas time. And again,
Yeah.
we would go out to sponsors and we would source prizes. It actually didn't have maybe the same scale, but it still had, you know, a theme. It had that whole experience of excitement. And every year it got bigger. And I think we've
Yep.
seen it in other markets as well. For example, you know, in China and in the US, you know, so whether it's, you know, the 11th of November or whatever, there's all of these big occasions during the year. And I think consumers really do appreciate it because it gives them a sense of something to look forward
Exactly.
to, gives you a sense, I suppose you've 11 months to negotiate and you've got time to
That's correct. That's correct.
yeah, takes a lot of time. It always just looks so beautiful and slick when it goes live, but I know how much work goes into it. So I think you were
It
involved,
does. It
yeah,
does.
in those partnerships as well, Jerome, all along. I think I saw, for example, other partners with Air Asia. I saw partnerships with banks. So would you maybe talk us a bit through that as well? Because they look like, I suppose, always on type partnerships as well.
Yeah.
So are they core parts of your core proposition?
Got it. Yeah. So, I mean, at the beginning of the program, we actually didn't have this non-telco capability or even partnering with this different sponsors and partners. So we really started off with like a telco rewards kind of thing.
Yeah.
But way back when, just before the 917 Gday popped out, we really doubled down on really getting a whole lot of partners and opening up our space for non-telco lifestyle partnerships and brands.
Yeah.
So when we did that, that really took off. That's where the program really took off, to be able to really gain access to the customers. That they don't look at loyalty in our sense as just a form of a rebate,
Yeah.
because that's the usual thing that you think. I spend more, therefore I get to rebate more because it's a
Yeah.
bill rebate. So that's where we actually was able to shift that mindset of the Filipino consumers here to be able to think of Globe Rewards and loyalty as so much more as rebate. It's actually
Okay.
now your gateway to be able to get access to lifestyle events, lifestyle partners. So,
Yeah.
for example, we have partners before. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like KFC and Jollibee here in the country, here in the
Of
Philippines.
course. Yes.
So we have consumers really reaching out to us, prepaid customers, that it's the first time to be able to get a taste of KFC and Jollibee
Okay.
because of
Wow.
our loyalty program. And then they were
Wow.
able to treat their sons and daughters for the first time
Wow.
in those events. So just imagine that the power of the points that you actually get from the program, not that doesn't just stop at being at a rebate, but actually
Totally.
a lifestyle enabler be able to give
Totally.
you more access to these partners. So currently we
Yeah.
boast around
Yeah.
100 partners here and there. So both local and global partners is inside the catalog now. Be
Yeah.
able to offer up and then really
Amazing.
be a lifestyle catalog for our consumers. So whichever,
Yeah.
regardless of what you want, regardless if you're a shopper, if you're a gamer, if you're
Yeah.
a movie fan, if you're a traveler
Okay.
like Air Asia, or you just want back perks like your credit card points conversions. So we
Yeah.
have all those themes and catalogs to be able to cater to all of our customers, regardless of what your preference is,
Yeah.
regardless of what your niche is.
Indeed. And I think that is a brilliant point, Jerome. And I remember it again back in my telco loyalty days where we would give away a lot of, I suppose, quite affordable things again with some of our sponsors. We used to give a lot of coffee. We used to give a lot of
Yeah,
chocolate. So maybe not the
yeah.
healthiest, but it was it
But
was
it
by
works.
mutual
But it
mutual
works.
choice, exactly. And again, you're mentioning restaurant brands there where, as you said, people may not have had the opportunity in the country to go and dine in those restaurants before. So I think what you're creating is a moment that they actually, I'm going to say, will never forget. And that
Yeah,
might sound like we're overstating it, but as you said, it's a third world country. So for people
exactly.
who maybe have never been before, and even yesterday I had a wonderful memory with a friend of mine back from Ireland. Actually, she was a customer of the same network that I worked on, a different program, but there was a beautiful campaign where they were sponsoring the rugby team. This is, I know, totally
Mm.
off topic, but I think you'll enjoy it. There was the number of the rugby players where they put the customer's name in a tiny little space. So they reduced down, I don't know, like 1,000 people's names to make up the number of the player. And this
Oh,
person
wow.
was telling me this story and she still had goosebumps. And that's 20 years later. So
Yes.
again,
Yes. That's amazing.
it's amazing. It's a moment. It's something that the brand did to connect with their customers, to make it special in a way that you guys are doing. So well done on all of those thoughtful campaigns and making sure to reach as many people as possible at scale. I know you have, I think I saw 55 million customers, so not easy to get to everyone. But again, you just have to make that impact once and it stays long term. So
That's
just
correct.
as
Just
we're,
imagine that rugby example of your friend. That's really
yeah,
like unlocking a core memory that to your point that they will never forget. Um,
exactly. Yes.
ever. Regardless if
And
they
that's it.
switch networks or switch programs, they will never
For
forget
sure.
that moment.
She will never forget. She would never leave that network. And as I said, her skin was like standing up on end with the emotion and the joy of being on that shirt in miniature when the Irish team were playing the rugby. So absolutely extraordinary. So let's talk about the key, like why we do all of this, Jerome. There's a lot of KPIs that I was always challenged by when I was working in this sector. So I think that's something that, again, every vertical has very different sets of KPIs. So for Globe Rewards, what is it that you consider success? What are you focused on driving?
All right. So for us, it's one thing. It's engagement. It's customer engagement. So other loyalty programs would have both. They would have both revenue and sales, and then they would
Yeah,
have customer engagement.
yeah,
But for us, I think at the beginning of the program, even years before, we really tried to fight that we will we will help. We will
okay,
loyalty is really a gateway to be able to gain access to higher ARPU, higher top ups, higher sales and revenues for the customers. But
yeah,
it's not the main KPI that we aspire for, specifically
okay,
from the Globe Rewards POV. So we
of
really
course,
focus on customer engagement of how they would
yeah,
actually engage to the loyalty program that we created for them rather than
okay,
focusing on revenues and sales from us. So I
yeah,
do know that's really also a very tricky KPI for a lot of the loyalty programs out there. But us in
Yeah.
Globe Telecom, I think that's one of the beautiful things that we've tried to institutionalize throughout the years. That customer engagement is key for any loyalty program to work.
Yeah.
So our team specifically, as mentioned, we really wake up, create programs of how to create engagement and delightful campaigns
Beautiful.
for the customers, which hopefully it will not turn into millions the next day, but
Yeah.
potentially it will turn to millions the next year, the next 2 years,
Of
because
course.
that loyalty engagement that you create for them will last
Yeah.
you a lifetime. So
It
that's
does.
actually the aspiration that we try to do. And as a
Yeah.
KPI, that's one of the we have a lot. We have a lot of KPIs. I'm sure everyone does.
Yeah.
But one of the key things, the biggest share or biggest chunk of percentage that really gets us across is really the customer engagement.
Beautiful.
And then
Yeah. Yeah.
it
As
really
many
just
people
creates your
as possible.
flexibility. It
Yeah.
really creates a flexibility for us for the campaigns that we create or curate for the customers, that we're
Okay.
not really hindered to be able to think of revenues. That's why partnership models for us, whenever we pitch to partners, it's
Yeah.
actually the best model because
It
you get
is.
to take all the sales and revenues of your
Yeah.
food and bev, for example. That's
Yeah.
all yours.
Uh-huh.
But what we will chase for is the stickiness and the engagement of the customers going to you.
Uh-huh.
So just imagine that perfect collaboration and perfect sync between us, the partners, and even the brands that we have in here in Globe.
Yeah.
So even of the prepaid business, the postpaid broadband business. So together with them, we really collaborate a lot of times to be able to create campaigns for them to drive their
Yeah.
sales and their revenues, and us to create more stickiness and engagement. So we
Incredible.
don't actually, how do I say it, cannibalize each other's KPIs,
Of
so
course.
that that collaboration and that parang chasing a North Star is really super synced across the
Totally.
different brands and partners. So I think
Lovely.
that's one of the key things as well. That's a lot of partners wants to go in together with Globe because of that
Okay.
kind of engagement that we have with
Love it.
them.
Brilliant. My final question for you, Jerome, is around, I suppose, the outcome. So I love the fact that you've got this engagement, the KPI. It sounds like your team has a huge amount of fun. But NPS is a very specific metric that I know, particularly as we've talked about, coming out of your September campaign, your big annual campaign. So can you give us any sense of what kind of performance? Do you see a change? Is it working?
For sure, for sure. So I think in general, so as mentioned, so before we talk about NPS engagement, because that's in our space, the loyalty, for a
Yeah.
lot of maybe the listeners of this show as well, for the business metrics all usually comes first. So the business of in telecom, it's ARPU, it's average revenue per user, it's your top up, it's your reloads, it's your anti churn, for example. So
Yeah.
in general, in all of the studies that we did, engaged customers to our program really have higher ARPU, higher
Okay.
reload rates, and higher retention rates. So across the board, as long as you're engaged with the program, you'll
Yeah.
eventually be more. You will invest more to the company. Not today, not tomorrow, but for sure
Yeah.
in the long run, you will actually have a better stay with us. So that's on the
Okay.
business side. On the
Okay.
loyalty and engagement piece, whenever we talk about, so our main KPI is engagement. The second one is actually NPS.
Okay.
So net promoter score is really something that we all aspire and really thrive for, to be able to
Yeah.
bring it up a notch. So for us, so throughout the years, I think we've increased of an uplift around 20 plus 20 percentage points on our NPS
Wow.
scores for our
Wow.
customers. So that's
Incredible.
something, yeah. So
Yes.
it's really driven by us being really customer centric and focused to be
Yeah.
able to insight well of what's not working, what's not working, what's working for them, to be
Yeah.
able to pivot and iterate at real, hopefully at real time. So
Yeah.
that's really one of our aspirations, because we're also running as an agile squad, as an agile team.
Okay.
So us being to do that, we get to release and give out more campaigns and strategies to customers at a faster rate. Then we
Yeah.
get to iterate better.
Yeah.
So it's like failing fast, failing forward, and then
Okay.
iterate for the better for
Yeah.
these customers. So that's why NPS has really driven and really spiked up that much,
Yeah.
because of the multiple iterations that we did to be able to cater and really tailor fit it for what
Yeah.
the customer insights are, what their pain points are, and then try to deliver as much as we can. So not everything will
Yeah.
happen overnight. In
Yeah.
the telco space, a lot of the thing is really more complex because of the technology. But
Yeah.
as soon as we pin down the pain point and insight that we see, that our customers feel, that's something that we try to already address as much as we can, so
Yeah.
that customer engagement and NPS starts with it. and then the business metrics will follow. Revenue will follow, top up will
Yeah.
follow, reload rates will follow. So
Yeah.
as much as we can, those are the things that we try to instill when it comes to loyalty metrics of engagement and NPS.
Yeah.
And then hopefully everything else will follow as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I think the point it proves as well, Jerome, is that, loyalty has to be absolutely instilled throughout the organization as a long-term strategy. I do think that, from time to time, there are brands that think it can be done more tactically, particularly in the utility space, whereas more mature industries, again, like the airlines and hotels we've talked about before, realize that you have to build the momentum over time. So I know I'm preaching to the converted, but thinking back when I was sitting in Ireland and trying to build my first program, I didn't have that depth of understanding. So it's wonderful to see it in action and, incredible to hear 20 percentage points on your NPS. I mean, that is a huge leap. I think we all know how hard it is to push that up in such an ultra competitive sector. And again, talking to people around the world as well, like you've already made the point as well, Jerome, where I think loyalty programs are becoming part of, I suppose, a solution in a small way to the cost of living crisis, or as you said, for people who may be below certain income thresholds. So we can make a meaningful difference. And that's what I'm hearing coming through with Globe Rewards. So listen, it's been a fabulous conversation, Jerome. I've asked all of the questions that I was dying to ask you today. Again, great fondness for me to hear what you're doing. I wish I'd met you 15 years ago. But have you any final thoughts or any comments from your side before we wrap up?
Yeah. I guess first up is really thank you very much for having me here, Paula. I think throughout the past, throughout the celebration. So I'm sorry if I wasn't here earlier because you were doing the September campaign, but I'm so happy to be here to be able to share the vision and the beauty that we get to try to inspire to all of our co-loyalty practitioners that we have out there. I guess as a final word from us from Globe Telecom is really, as mentioned, the business metrics, those will follow, but at the core of everything is really look at the customer. So customer centricity, customer focus is really key. As long as we pin down the right pain point and insight and really chase a singular North Star for all of us here in the company. I think that's really one of the secret sauce that has been working for us throughout the years as well. So I guess my word for all the other loyalty practitioners will come to the show is hopefully we get to keep that vision. We get to fight. We get to keep to fight for the customers and really engage them for the better. I think, like Pierre said, I think everyone here, we're preaching to the choir that we all love our customers so much that we create these delightful campaigns for them day in, day out. So I think let's not stop with that trust and really believing that we could do so much more for them.
Indeed. And please God, we'll see you winning some awards next year in London. I know you'll be entering again next year. So
hopefully too.
We'll certainly see you there. So listen, it's been a wonderful conversation. Amazing to hear all of the insights coming from Globe Telecom and Globe Rewards in the Philippines. So Jerome Patalud, thank you so much. Director, Product Owner of Globe Rewards. Thank you so much from Let's Talk Loyalty.
Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you so much for having me here.